Alright, Zipzer, sorry tadi kita ada sedikit technical issue, but it's all being solved right now. Teman-teman yang untuk live di YouTube juga udah bisa langsung join. Saat ini udah ada 10 orang yang attend, yang udah hadir di YouTube. Sekarang juga mau ingetin lagi untuk teman-teman yang memiliki pertanyaan, 10 penanya terbaik dengan pertanyaan-pertanyaan terbaik akan dipilih. Sebentar. Yes, sorry sebentar ya. I think I'm experiencing some technical errors. Oke. Ya, sorry. Oke, ya sekali lagi saya ingin menyampaikan jika ada pertanyaan-pertanyaan bisa langsung ditutar, baik itu di Instagram maupun di YouTube. Untuk pertanyaan-pertanyaan terbaik akan kita pilih dan kalian yang beruntung akan mendapatkan hadiah merchandise dan juga e-money dengan total Rp250.000. Alright. Sepertinya bisa kita mulai ya. Okay, Zipsters, we are so happy to see all of your names pop up on the comment box below on IG or on our right side on YouTube. I saw some people already ask questions for our special AMA today. Yes, you're right here. Stay tuned with us for the answers, and you might also get a chance to win Zipmex merchandise and e-money for 10 best questions. Our special guest for today is Mr. Marcus Slim, the CEO and also co-founder of Zipmex. Good evening, Mark. How are you?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Glad to be here today to answer all your questions. Feel free to ask me anything. I'm sure there's a lot of questions you guys have regarding the market, so happy to answer them today.
All right. So before we talk about the market, you guys, that we do not advise trading or investing in digital assets without cautions. This video is for educational purposes only and does not contain solicitation or offer of legal trading or investment advice. All trading activities must be conducted independently and without fear of retaliation. Each trader and investor must be aware of accept all risks. So yeah, let's start this AMA with a strong first question. The crypto market appears to be experiencing extreme price volatility with a strong downward trend this past few weeks. What is your view on this as to why this is happening, Marcus?
Sure, I think that's a great first question to start off. So, look, there's a lot of uncertainty that's happening in the market at the moment. But I guess, to kind of look at why we are here, we need to kind of look back, I guess, 18 to 24 months, where we first experienced lockdown in the pandemic, and everyone basically stayed at home. A lot of people lost their jobs. And so a lot of the governments around the world had to basically reduce interest rates and to print a lot of money to make sure their economies were well supported. As a result of this, we have probably seen the unprecedented amount of money float into all economies around the world. And basically people got, free handouts from the government, and they took that money essentially to go and invest into crypto or into the stock market. So what we have seen also then is that inflation has gone up very exponentially. In the US is about 8.5% CPI. And so the problem here now, kind of 24 months later, is that all economies around the world has too much money. Unemployment is all-time low, one of the lowest in decades. And on top of that, you have interest rates that are almost close to zero, with an overheating economy. So the central bank now has to step in and basically increase interest rates, and they've been doing that very aggressively. And as a result, cost of borrowing has actually gone up, and that actually has an impact in terms of people's ability to service the mortgage. And also, they're looking to do what's called quantitative tightening, which is basically taking the money supply out of the circulating supply. So it's basically kind of like two approaches that I've taken. And for growth stocks, for tech stocks, crypto, very much kind of reliant on low interest rates, because of the kind of the future value of growth stocks or tech stocks. And so what we've seen is actually the market correcting very aggressively over the last quarter, since like January this year. And the crypto is obviously also correlated to the stock market in the US. And so therefore it's also corrected massively since the all-time high in November. So where we are now is we are still kind of waiting on a lot of more information about the economy, whether inflation is going to slow down. And inflation has been primarily triggered on two things. One is the demand side and also the supply side. So the demand side, as I mentioned, unemployment being extremely low, everyone has a lot of purchasing power, free money that basically went out to spend. So prices have gone up there. Also, we have supply shock with China shutting down their economy and also locking up. We have the Russia and Ukraine war basically impacting the supply side. So energy costs have gone up, and also manufacturing, supply of manufacturing has gone down. So naturally, when there's low supply, high demand, prices typically go up very aggressively. So therefore, we've started to see a lot of the central banks around the world kind of increasing interest rates. So we're in this uncertain time. I think what the economy needs to see is a slowdown in inflation, and hopefully we can achieve that fairly soon before we need to kind of move into a recession. So I think in terms of where we're heading, at least for the next 1 to 2 quarters, is still very uncertain. We still need economic data to come out, and then for the central banks to be able to react to it.
Oke, jadi Markus mungkin ingin menyampaikan bahwa kondisi makroekonomi secara global saat ini masih sangat kuat ya, masih sangat memprihatinkan, dan juga fakta bahwa the Fed yang menaikkan interest rate ini juga membuat kondisi market saat ini berada dalam kondisi wait and see. Semua juga tahu bahwa market crypto sangat correlated dengan any kind of tech stocks di luar sana ya. So ya, kita juga nggak bisa selalu berharap bahwa kondisi harus selamanya bull run, dan ya kita berharap mudah-mudahan dengan kebijakan-kebijakan yang diambil oleh para kebijakan dapat bisa memerangi inflasi, kurang lebih seperti itu. So, okay, Marcus. So with this, could you explain how Zipmex users to pass this market correction?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Yep. With this current situation, could you explain how Zipmex supports our users to pass this market correction?
Sure. So look, on our platform itself, we will continue to provide liquidity for you to buy and sell. We will always allow you to withdraw or deposit, your IDR into the system. We'll always have customer support to ensure that any questions or any kind of issues that you have, we're always going to be supporting it in real time. As for providing advice or kind of providing information about where we're heading, we will always kind of communicate to our community in terms of what the market positioning is, and also making sure that we do not, we would continue to protect our users. So making sure that we continue to screen all the tokens that we're listing on our platform, making sure that they are the right type of tokens to be kind of invested in. So we do not want to obviously have a repeat of what we saw with Luna and UST. And thankfully, like Zipmex had never, listed UST. So unfortunately, Luna is a very unfortunate case that has happened. And I understand that a lot of our viewers have, lost money in Luna when it went from $100 to basically $0. So, we're quite regretful for that. And it's impacted many people around the world. But this is a good lesson learned. And I guess, as being part of the crypto community, we want to be a lot smarter in terms of what type of projects we invest in.
Oke, thank you. Ya, mungkin saya juga ingin menambahkan bahwa kita memiliki produk seperti Zipaplus dan juga Ziplock yang bisa memaksimalkan aset-aset kita ya, supaya bisa terhindar dari kondisi volatilitas market saat ini gitu. Dan juga yang terpenting adalah kita Zipmex memiliki Zipmex yang berbasis di Telegram. Di situ trader yang sudah berpengalaman, mereka juga sangat senang juga untuk berbagi dan membantu para investor maupun trader-trader baru yang bisa bergabung di komunitas Zipmex Groups. Kurang lebih seperti itu. Thank you for the great explanation of the current market trend and Zipmex stance during this market correction. So let's dive to the comment sections right now and answer several best questions selected by our Zipmex Groups here. So, okay, let's go to the first questions. So, question by Michelle. What kind of information and education do you highly recommend for the newest investor related to crypto market?
Yeah, so I think, firstly, people need to understand the most fundamental information first, right? So, for example, what is blockchain? What is cryptocurrency? What's the difference between cryptocurrency and a digital token or an asset-backed token? I think, look, the challenge, or rather, the issue with a lot of people is they kind of jump in not understanding what they're investing in, and that's where a lot of people get in trouble. So I think firstly is just to do a lot of reading. We always kind of say this in all AMAs that we do and in all the communication that we provide. We always want to kind of get our users to be able to understand first before kind of investing. So I think that's the most important part. In terms of how people should be looking at it, for example, if you look at a particular project and how you typically look at a company stock, I think, there's some similarities in terms of, firstly kind of doing the due diligence around the company, what are the financial forecasts, the financial numbers, how healthy are they? And then also just in terms of the blockchain project, what is the future potential? What are they trying to achieve? Whether that's possible or not, whether they've raised capital, whether they have enough money to be able to kind of build out what they need to. So, these sorts of due diligence, I think, is very important, that all users need to know. And I think they should kind of read the white paper and some of the things that they're investing in. Most of these blockchain projects have white paper that they publish. If you can't, I think, it's probably definitely easier to probably translate it into your local language as well, into Bahasa, and then you'll be able to kind of understand a lot more. Now, typically, I think a lot of these white papers are very difficult to understand as well. And I have to admit, because I've read through quite a lot of them. They're very technical, and for I guess the normal person like myself, it's very hard to kind of understand every single thing, especially when it's technical. So I think what's best is probably sometimes you to kind of reach out to the actual project themselves, get them to kind of host an AMA, ask get them to and ask the questions that you need to ask in order for you to kind of fully understand what you're investing in. I guess at the end of the day, also these blockchain projects is, there needs to be a viable business, right? They need to be generating revenue. So they can't just be essentially kind of a protocol and not be able to generate revenue or have any economics behind it. So I think that's the important part to understand is how do they make money? That's the question that you need to ask. How do all these projects intend to make money at the end of the day? So it shouldn't just be like, let's buy low, sell high, but it's like, is this sustainable? Is this a long-term investment that you're willing to invest in and keep?
Okay, so mungkin saya ingin membantu menambahkan teman-teman di sini juga harus mengerti tentang informasi secara fundamental, baik itu teknologi blockchain-nya, lalu apa yang proyek seperti apa yang di backup oleh teknologi tersebut, dan juga benefit dari teknologi ini, dan juga apa benefit pada saat kita berinvestasi di proyek tersebut. Sama seperti kita berinvestasi di saham sebuah perusahaan ya, bagaimana tersebut bisa menghasilkan uang gitu kan. Apa yang perusahaan aku banyak sekali analisa yang secara fundamental untuk bisa mengenal ataupun untuk membantu kita mengambil keputusan sebelum kita berinvestasi di perusahaan-perusahaan tersebut gitu ya. Sama juga di dunia kripto, teknologi dan juga project blockchain-nya tersedia juga banyak seperti technical standards melalui white paper dan juga apakah project tersebut bisa menghasilkan revenue. Kurang lebih seperti itu. Okay, to the next questions from let me see from question by Ahmad regarding the turbulent situation on cryptocurrency amid Terra Luna, and how do you encourage Zipmex users to keep optimistic?
So, okay, I think we need to kind of look at, the so-called lifetime of Bitcoin, right? So ever since it started in 2010, and I think there has been a lot of events during that past 10 years where, basically there's a lot of opportunities for cryptocurrency or Bitcoin to go away, to go to zero. We're talking about China banning, even mining as well. We looked at countries banning it. We looked at hacks that have happened. The biggest is Mt. Gox back in the early days, 2013, 2014. And so the fact is, crypto is not going to go away. It's still going to be here, and it's going to continue to, increase in terms of adoption. The community itself, and also I guess a lot of the products and technology is still very new at this stage. A lot of, it's still very much a bit of trial and error that is happening at this point in time. And so I think it calls for a little bit more patience around, some of these projects being able to prove themselves out. I think for those who were in the last bull run, all the different projects that listed, that are not really there anymore. So for example, if you look at EOS was like, probably one of the largest projects back in the last bull run back in 2017, 2018. This time around, like no one's really kind of talking about EOS anymore. And so you have some projects that have basically were, kind of doing really well, raised a lot of money, but then kind of never really kind of follow through or have kind of made, several mistakes along the way. I think it's still a lot of kind of trial and error at this point in time. Things are trying to figure out, but it's a lot of innovative things that are happening, as you can see, especially with Terra, trying to do an algorithmic stablecoin. I think, I give them kind of like credit in terms of trying to be innovative. But obviously there were a lot of flaws in their technology that they did not kind of realize until the depeg happened. So, what I would say is for those who are still currently invested in the market, I think the safer option is basically to go with, the top three. I probably would not, at this stage, kind of diversify too much into the other kind of, altcoins, simply because, there may be further correction that's happening. And I guess, we typically kind of don't know whether the project will be kind of around for a very long time. We know that Bitcoin and Ethereum has lasted through many cycles, Bitcoin especially. And so we know that there's a lot of, network effects, especially for Ethereum, with NFT platforms coming on board. So there's a lot of transactions that are happening on Ethereum. And I think, it's the most dominant utility token in the world right now. So my caution is, to, do not be discouraged by what's happened with Terra. I think this is like a lesson learned for the entire community. But then in terms of the investment, I'd say kind of focus on the safer bets right now, and then just wait for the market to recover.
Oke, yang Markus coba katakan adalah kita juga harus tetap percaya bahwa kripto nggak akan kemana-mana. Teknologi blockchain dan kripto industri itu akan tetap di sini. Hanya karena kita masih berada dalam fase awal, jadi banyak sekali trial and error dan juga apa yang terjadi sama Project Terra itu juga sebagai sesuatu proses pembelajaran, sama seperti project EOS di tahun 2017 lalu, ramai dibicarakan project yang sangat besar, tapi sekarang sudah tidak lagi dibicarakan gitu ya. Dan juga hal-hal terpenting yang harus kita pikirkan adalah kita harus lebih berani mengambil investasi untuk project-project yang sudah mature. Seperti ada kalanya seperti bisa kita tahu Bitcoin sudah melalui banyak sekali cycle dan bisa dikatakan bahwa Bitcoin sampai saat ini masih dalam fase bull run dari tahun-tahun sebelumnya. Dan yang terpenting adalah kita harus terus dengan kondisi seperti ini memaksimalkan investasi kita mulai dari leher ke atas. Artinya kita terus melakukan research tentang proyek-proyek yang akan kita investasikan, dan juga kita juga harus berani mengambil mendiversifikasi portfolio kita. Jangan pernah menaruh satu aset dalam satu keranjang. So our next questions is from questions by Rizky. How is the downtrend affecting the business? Is Zipmex going to be okay, Marcus?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. Zipmex is well capitalized. We've raised a lot of money in the past. Thankfully, we do not have any UST, so we were not impacted by what happened with Terra. And in terms of our business model, it's viable. We continue to operate the exchange, allowing people to trade. We continue to have the interest-bearing product where people are still earning yield at this stage. In fact, a lot of our customers are now kind of moving towards the interest-bearing product because the market is not as, still not was it's slightly volatile, but not as volatile as it is before. And so I think it's a good time now for people to just save and then the yield, wait for the market to recover, and then come back again into the trading. We have, we're still kind of operational in the 4 countries. We're to be licensed in Singapore and in Indonesia as well. So the business is operating fine, and will continue to operate for, many years to come.
Oke. Yang Marcus coba katakan bahwa Zipmex saat ini berada dalam posisi secara finansial masih dalam posisi yang kuat, dan juga Zipmex dengan kondisi Terra Luna sebelumnya USD kita, Zipmex tidak menggunakan dana perusahaan untuk melakukan pembelian ya terhadap aset tersebut gitu ya. Dan juga saat ini Zipmex is a fully regulated exchange yang kita comply terhadap hukum, dan juga yang pasti kita terdaftar di Bapepti. Okay, another questions from Putri. Questions by Putri. In the midst of the Russian invasion, many people supported Ukraine through cryptocurrencies. Do you see any opportunities for using cryptocurrencies like fiat money in the future?
Do I see opportunities in using cryptocurrency as fiat money in the future? Is that your question?
Yep.
Okay, yep. So I think stable coins, are you referring to stable coins?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so look, I think there's a lot of opportunities, right? So in terms of CBDC, which is central bank digital currency, China was the first country to actually launch a CBDC. I know the Indonesian government is also interested in doing so. Thai government is doing so. Singapore MAS has decided not to issue one. So I think there's a lot of benefits in issuing CBDCs. It allows for kind of much faster, kind of costless or cost less way of transferring money. And I think there's also, the ability to do FX as well in a much more efficient and cost-effective way. So e-money or e-wallet, I guess, has been able to penetrate quite nicely in Indonesia, for example. And I think, as an extension to that, the ability to kind of be able to receive money in a very, seamless fashion, being able to pay for goods and services using CBDCs or stablecoins, I think has a lot of merit.
Yep. Thank you for the explanation, Marcus. Ya, yang mungkin mau Marcus sampaikan adalah CBDC memiliki masa depan yang cukup kuat dan sangat punya potensi yang besar untuk di masa depan ya. Okay, so next question is, wait a second. Yeah, we got so many interesting questions on YouTube, by the way. So from Pang, is there any possibility for ZMT to develop its own blockchain? Why Zipmex is still using only ERC20? Any reason for not adopting others networks such as the BSC or TRC for cheaper fees?
Yeah, look, that's a great question. I think there's an opportunity for us to kind of develop our own protocol. But at this stage, I think what we're quite focused on is making sure that we have built out the ecosystem itself. I think building out the protocol itself, it's fine. We can essentially, we can do that internally. But I think our focus right now, at least for the next 12 months, is really to build out the ecosystem. So, for example, all the Web3 stuff that we're looking to build out, NFT platforms, etc. That is something we're investing in that allows people to use ZMT for means of kind of transaction. Whether the transaction happens in the same protocol as the ERC20 or a different protocol, I think that's perfectly fine. We can do that. But I think the more important part is building out the ecosystem.
Thank you, Marcus. So, Marcus mungkin ingin menyampaikan bahwa banyak sekali potensi untuk kita untuk menambah jaringan ke depannya. Sebagai contoh, saat ini project Web3 yang sedang dibangun oleh Zipmex Labs, dan itu yang sekarang difokuskan adalah untuk bisa mengembangkan the ecosystem itself. Okay, so next question from Ivan Kwananda. How's the tax regulations in Indonesia impact Zipmex marketing strategies in the future, Marcus?
Yeah, so I think, look, at the end of the day, everyone has to pay tax, even in Thailand. So I guess it's no surprise in Indonesia. I think, at the moment, we're absorbing all the tax that customers need to pay, and we'll continue to do so that, people have a seamless kind of trading experience. So, we're happy to kind of make that concession. In terms of how it's going to impact marketing, not so much. I think, it's definitely a benefit, that we can use as part of our marketing strategy to kind of let new customers know that we actually absorb the tax in Indonesia. So, people who trade through us don't have to kind of worry about the tax.
Yap, sudah jelas yang mungkin Marcus sampaikan ya, bahwa impact-nya tidak sebegitu terasa pada strategi marketing, dan juga saya ingin mengingatkan bahwa Zipmex pada bulan Mei mengcover seluruh pajak yang dikenakan pada aset kripto yang ditransaksikan di platform kita. So next question from Eddie Sipil 05. Why this week the crypto market is always aligned with the stock market? Are investors hesitant to take a step, or is there something wrong, Marcus?
So I think the crypto market has always been highly correlated with the stock market. I think the reason for this is because people who invest in the stock market also invest in the crypto market. So the correlation ratio at the moment is 0.7. What that means is 1 being 100% correlated, 0 means 100% uncorrelated. So Bitcoin in the stock market, especially the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq, is at 0.7, so 70% correlated. And the reason for that is, in some sense, a lot of the financial markets are actually correlated. People invested in the stock market also invest in crypto. So when they actually sell, when they take risk off the table, they sell across the board. I think what we've seen also with institutional investors that are coming on board, they've invested into stocks and also in crypto for some of them. And so when they want to kind of reduce their position, they'll sell across the board to kind of reduce that risk. So hence that's why you get that kind of correlation that's happening. I don't know exactly when they'll be uncorrelated. And I think uncorrelation we don't necessarily need negative correlation. I think what we probably want is less of a correlation there. So, if we can kind of if the ratios kind of bring down to about, 0.5 or like 0.4, I think that would be great. So then the correlation is not as high, right? So it's about 50% kind of correlated.
Yep, thank you, Marcus. Jadi yang ingin Marcus sampaikan adalah saat ini tingkat korelasi kita terhadap indeks US stock seperti S&P 500 dan juga Nasdaq itu berada dalam posisi 0,7 ya, dalam skala 1 sampai 100 itu ada di 70% ya, kira-kira seperti itu. Dan mungkin karena didasari pada mostly para investor yang berinvestasi di stock itu juga berinvestasi di kripto gitu ya. Dan hal itu yang terjadi dengan kondisi kebijakan makroekonomi yang saat ini, orang-orang yang mungkin berinvestasi di saham juga mereka melakukan selling besar-besaran juga di beberapa aset lain, salah satunya mungkin di kripto, karena kripto dikategorikan sebagai salah satu risk on aset yang berisiko. Kurang lebih seperti itu ya. So our next questions from M Fatur. This is one of the interesting questions, I think. People are asking about our ZMT. Are there any plans by Zipmex to increase the development on utilization of ZMT? Is there any plan to list ZMT in another exchange, whether maybe in the centralized or maybe the decentralized exchange? Marcus?
Yep. Yep. So what I can say without kind of giving too much away is we will be listing ZMT on one of the largest exchanges in the world. I can't say when, but that is happening at the moment. The second one is around kind of the utilization of ZMT. Yeah, kind of going back again, I guess, in terms of the ecosystem, the key thing is like we want to build out this ecosystem. So we strongly believe in a lot of the Web3 applications that we're building out. And so, apart from, I guess, the utility that's happening on exchange, we also want to bring that across to the Web3 platform. So that's what we're trying to gear up to.
Oke, thank you Marcus. Kabar baik buat teman-teman bahwa Zipmex akan berencana untuk listing di salah satu exchange terbesar, tapi mungkin masih dirahasiakan untuk kapan dan apa nama exchange-nya. Saat ini juga Zipmex sedang melakukan development pada Web3 Web3 industry ya. Jadi saat ini Zipmex sedang fokus untuk memperbesar ekosistemnya di dunia Web3. Okay. Thank you, Marcus. Next question from Unat Danu. What is a wise way to assess an asset when facing a bear market situation, Marcus?
What is the best way in?
Yeah. To assess an asset when facing a bear market situation.
Okay, so that kind of really depends. Certain assets are more defensive during a bear market versus some that are more, that basically have more volatility. So I think, it depends. I mean, if you're looking at crypto assets in general, then I would say that, in the bear market, you probably want to focus on the top, the top 5, right? The ones that have been around for a long time, because I think the reality is some projects out of this bear market may not survive. That's just the reality. We see that in the last bull run and the last bear market. So I would typically kind of gravitate towards like the ones with a much higher market cap. But in terms of kind of other assets in general, like stocks or property, gold, I think, there is some merit still in kind of investing in gold itself. I think that's a fairly stable asset that does not have a lot of volatility, and to some extent, has a good hedge against inflation as well. In terms of stocks, I think there's been a lot of a sell down in stocks. So I would probably go for more kind of consumer stocks. FMCG stocks. So for example, Procter and Gamble. Things that are basically kind of providing day-to-day kind of goods and services to the economy. I think that's a good defensive hedge. Oil or energy stocks, I think, have run up quite dramatically, and I think I think it's going to taper off, and I think it'll probably correct as well. So I think in this current market, there's still a lot of kind of value opportunities to kind of invest into companies or into crypto. I think a lot has sold off. I mean, if you look at Bitcoin, it's kind of corrected by 55% since November, which is quite substantial. So it kind of gives a very kind of good entry price into some of these assets that are coming, we think that has a lot of potential, right? I think with Ethereum, with the mergers happening in August, obviously Bitcoin being kind of the digital gold, other projects like, for example, Solana as well, which is another layer 1 that has a lot of potential. I think some of these ones actually will probably stay around and have like pretty good backers. So in some of these projects, you probably should look at, who who are the investors that are backing them, who are the team, and would they have kind of the longevity to kind of last through the bear market. So the takeaway here is that I think go for the big names, go for things that have been around for a long time, go for things that are less volatile, to make sure that there's wealth preservation there, and then leave a big portion of that also into cash. So then you can actually at the right time kind of go into the market when things get pretty cheap.
Okay, thank you Marcus. Mungkin yang ingin Marcus sampaikan adalah apabila kita ingin tetap berinvestasi di kripto, kita juga harus melihat lima besar sesuai dengan coin market cap ya, karena most probably beberapa aset lainnya akan hilang dalam seperti yang sudah terjadi di bulan-bulan sebelumnya. Apabila juga kita ingin berinvestasi di saham, kita juga mungkin lebih bisa fokus juga ke saham-saham FMCG yang berhubungan langsung dengan kebutuhan manusia, atau juga seperti contohnya pada emas yang sudah terbukti sangat baik untuk bisa memerangi inflasi gitu. Tapi kembali lagi, sebelum kita memutuskan untuk berinvestasi, kita juga wajib untuk melakukan research kita, baik secara fundamental maupun secara teknikal, dan itu semua akan teman-teman bisa dapatkan juga dengan bisa bergabung di komunitas Zipmex Groups. Okay, so thank you for that, Marcus. Again, are there any more questions from the audience? Okay, I think that's all for the question that I could give to you from all the Zipsters that are watching this session today. Are there some statements or insight for the audience who are still not sure to use Zipmex during the bearish market, Marcus?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Yeah. Are there some statements or insight for the audience who are still not sure to use Zipmex during this bearish market?
Yeah, so look, I think, again, if you have any questions, kind of reach out to our team or our community members, specialists. I think, there's a lot of questions, understandably, that probably can't be covered in this call. So, feel free to reach out to us. Happy to answer those questions. And again, I think, Zipmex is still really safe. As I mentioned, we've been around for quite a while now. We're regulated and licensed in a number of countries. We've raised a lot of capital to continue to build out our infrastructure, which is really important. So, a lot of our customers trust us. We have hundreds of thousands of customers on our platform that use us actively on a daily basis and a monthly basis as well. So, we've been quite reliable through, these kind of very difficult times. I think, in terms of being able to kind of deposit, withdraw, those are, the kind of key essential things that we have enabled on our platform, even during a bull market or during a bear market.
Yeah, we are all going to make it, right?
That's it.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Marcus, for your very insightful comments. Let me summarize the session for all of us here today. Remember that the market moves in a cycle, and it's not the first time that we have experienced this before. And historically, the market has always rebounded. And what we can do during this situation is keeping ourselves educated and informed. It's time for us to rebalance our portfolio and deep dive into the fundamentals of each crypto project that we are investing in. If we do this, we'll come out of the situation stronger and wiser. Remember that Zipmex also has features like ZipHub Plus and Ziplock that allow you to save and grow your portfolio regardless of the market situation. Zipmex is in a strong position and will always be by our customer side on their crypto journey. Together, we are all going to make it. Yeah, I think we are going to clear out the AMA live for today. I want to thank Marcus for today to answer our friends' curiosities and also to get some more insight, especially in our current situation right now regarding the market itself. Again, thank you so much, Marcus, for answering our questions. So I guess that's all from me. I'm Andrew on behalf of Zipmex Troops and all the teams that help to run this event smoothly. Thank you for your participating. And for 10 best questions, please DM us on at Zipmex Indonesia to claim your prize. See you at our next AMA. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marcus. Bye bye.